Hello, my name is Fergus Donahoe, and welcome to the fourth installment of Shogi for chess players. In the previous video, we looked at how pieces move and promote. In this video, we will look at what is most distinctive about Shogi, the ability to drop captured pieces back on the board as your own pieces. To get started, let's capture some pieces. The quickest way is for one bishop to capture another. I can leave it as a bishop, or I can promote it to a dragon horse. Remember that a piece may promote if it moves into the last three ranks of the board, as it just did here, or if it moves from them or within them. And notice what has happened to this bishop here. This is the bishop that used to belong to white, but now it's over here, and it's changed orientation. So it points in the same direction as the black pieces. It has changed sides and now belongs to black, who may use a later turn to drop it back on the board. But for now it's white's turn, as shown here. So white will take the rook and capture the dragon horse. And notice that the dragon horse also changed sides, and it turned back into a bishop. The general rule here is that whenever you capture a promoted piece, it turns back into its unpromoted form. One consequence of this is that if you promote a piece on the board, you don't have to worry about your opponent capturing that piece and then having a promoted piece to drop back on the board. You can never drop a promoted piece in Shogi. Whenever you capture a promoted piece, it always demotes back to its unpromoted form. Okay, now it's black's turn, and black can take this bishop and drop it on any empty space on the board. You'll see that there's a green dot on every single empty space on the board as I hold down this with the mouse. And in general, a piece may be dropped on any empty space, but it may not be dropped on another piece. See, that's illegal. But it may be dropped here. Likewise, this may be dropped on any empty space. Now, for most pieces, the captured piece may be dropped on any empty space, but there are a few pieces for which there are restrictions on which spaces they may be dropped. These pieces are the lance, the knight, and the pawn. I will pause now to set up a position to show you some examples. Okay, by quickly making some thoughtless moves, I've set up a position where black has a pawn, a bishop is right here, a pawn, a knight, and a lance in hand, also a bishop. And I'm going to use this to show you the restrictions on dropping this piece, and this piece, starting with the lance. Notice that the lance here may be dropped on any of the first 8 ranks, but it may not be dropped on the last rank. And the reason for this is that it has no legal move from a space on the last rank. And the general rule here is that no piece may be dropped on a space from which it has no legal moves. And this restriction applies to the lance, the knight, and the pawn. The knight here may be dropped on any of the first 7 ranks, but it may not be dropped on any of the last 2 ranks. And the reason for this is that a knight has no legal move from these 2 ranks, because a knight always moves 2 ranks forward, but from here and from here it has no place to move. The same restriction applies to the pawn. See, the pawn may move to the first 7 ranks, to the first 8 ranks, but not to the last one. Notice also that there are many fewer green dots on the board. There are fewer places a pawn may be dropped than the lance. And the reason for this is that there's another restriction on dropping pawns, which is that a pawn may not be dropped on a file which already has a pawn belonging to the same side. So you see there's a pawn here, there are pawns here, and there are pawns here, so this pawn may not be dropped on these files. But it may be dropped on this file, in this file because black has no pawns there. Notice that white has a pawn in this file, but that doesn't matter. The main purpose of the rule is so that you may not have more than one pawn on the same rank. Sorry, on the same file. Okay, there is one further restriction for dropping pawns, and that is that a pawn may not be dropped where it would checkmate the enemy king. Let me pause again and set up another example. Okay, I've now set up a position where a pawn drop would checkmate the enemy king. Here's the pawn, and it may be dropped here on this file, on this file, on this file, or on the king's file. But notice that it may not be dropped on this space on the B rank, even though it may be dropped on this space and this space on the B rank. And the reason for this is that a drop here would checkmate the enemy king. I'll demonstrate by dropping the lance, which from this space has the same moves as a pawn. Checkmate. Black wins. And the reason this is checkmate is because the king cannot move here or here. No piece may capture this except for the king, but this space is covered by the dragon king. And these spaces are blocked by the king's own pieces, by white's own pieces. So that's why this would be checkmate. So, a pawn may not be dropped to checkmate the enemy king, and may not be dropped on a file that already has a pawn belonging to the same side, and pawns, lances, and knights may not be dropped where they would have no legal moves. This covers how the restrictions on dropping pieces, so you now know how to capture and drop pieces in Shogi, and you know all the other rules of Shogi from the previous videos. Let's now take some time to talk about the program I used to show you this video. That program is called Zillions of Games. And Zillions of Games is a program for playing all kinds of different games. We have puzzle games here. For example, there's a maze program, 5 Minutes Morris, some various puzzles. It can play chess. It can play Chinese chess. And it can play Shogi. Here is mini Shogi. And here is Shogi. Notice that the graphics here are different than the graphics I have been using. This is Zillion's own script for playing Shogi. It plays worse than mine, and it uses different graphics. In my program, in my script for Shogi, I optimized it so that it would play better. And here it is. Here's some graphics that I designed. You saw a set that used this design in the first video. Here's the set I've been using. Here's a Japanese set that uses notational Japanese pieces. So one of the improvements of my script for Shogi is that you could drop only one piece of a particular type on the board, whereas in the original script, if you have captured 5 pawns, you could drop any of those pawns on the board. In my script, if you've captured 5 pawns, you can drop only one of them on the board. And this creates less work for the computer program, so it plays the program better. Also, you can tune piece values here, and I've programmed a bunch of different piece value tunings. One problem with the original Shogi script was that the piece values did not work very well for Shogi. And Steve Evans began working on improving the piece values while I began working on optimizing the script, and we combined our ideas into a single script for playing Shogi. Zillions of Games may also be used for other games. I'll quickly show you something like Void Rider Chess. This is a game I created and programmed with Zillions of Games. We're out of time, so enjoy playing Shogi, and bye.